Cowboys president Stephen Jones talking about the franchise tag. Quote, "Our goal is to avoid it. We want to get a deal done. We're going to roll up our sleeves, and when these things get momentum, they get done. But both sides have got to be in a place where we think we're within shouting distance of getting something done." And it feels like since the beginning of this, I've been shouting at Dan Graziano, and your answers have remained the same. But now the clock is, we have a friend, Andrew Brandt, who frequently says deadlines spur actions. Well, this deadline is finally coming on this franchise tag.
Yeah, but not soon, right? I hope I'm here the day he signs. Like, I really...
Me too.
The payoff is really important to me at this point. Look, they have to do the franchise tag by March 10th, right? They have a window, 2-week window there. So if nothing's done by March 10th, they'll franchise him. And if nothing's done by July 15th, then he has to play out the year on the franchise tag. Something has to happen to make it move, and it's not going to happen on February 10th, unfortunately. If they get to the start of the offseason program and he's not there, that could be an interesting flex point because the Cowboys aren't allowed to require him to be there for voluntary workouts. They can't come out and say, yes, we want him here for the start of our program in April. That would be against the rules because those workouts are voluntary. But if he doesn't show up for that, that's an interesting point because that might let them know, hey, he's serious. He's trying to make a statement here that he might dig in on this, and that could prompt them to move in contract.
And so we talked today, and you brought up there the time when they can franchise tag him mid-March and then to mid-July where then they wouldn't be able to negotiate. The problem is that's where the entire offseason, Greeny, resides. You're bringing in a new coach. He's bringing in a new system that Dak has never played in. West Coast, it's going to be different terminology. And outside of him learning it, you're going to craft the offense to what your quarterback does well. And he was with Aaron Rodgers for 10 years. It's not like he knows Dak Prescott, the ins and outs and what he's going to do. So you can't build this thing for 6 months and then all of a sudden August 1st say, hey, Dak's back. Let's just figure out what he does and then move in and go in on the season.
Okay, you were had the franchise tag put on you before. Obviously, it's different for a quarterback, your experience, and then why it's different for a quarterback.
Exactly. It's completely different for a quarterback. For myself, I got franchised. Your running back gets franchised, your linebackers get franchised. The offseason program will continue without you. Yeah, yes, you're a part of the team, but for a quarterback, you need him there day one. And it's extremely important that they make that happen because the leadership piece of it, a new system, new coach. I'm sure when McCarthy signed that contract, he knew or thought his quarterback would be there day one to develop and bring these guys along. You cannot go a whole offseason without having a quarterback.
Well, you were telling us this morning that when you got the franchise tag, you weren't unhappy about it. And what did you expect to happen after you signed it?
Well, I was unhappy initially, but then I expected to sign a long-term deal. I expected to be with that organization the following year.
And what actually happened?
I left and went and won a Super Bowl in Seattle.
Okay, that's the point, is that these things tend to take a turn. And so the question is, will they approach a point where a turn needs to be taken? We all act as though this thing is going to happen, but far stranger things have happened than one way or another Dak Prescott not being in Dallas next year.
Sure, I still think it's very unlikely. I think he's the Cowboys quarterback for this year and for the future. That is still their plan and his. But yeah, you get to who flexes their leverage first. Their leverage is the franchise tag. We will put the franchise tag on you. That's going to be $27 million. If you're looking for 35, 36, 37, this is a lot less. Let's meet in the middle. His leverage point is, maybe I won't show up for the start of that offseason program. I don't have to, especially if I'm franchised. I don't even have to go to training camp.
Yeah.
So how much is he willing to do that and call their bluff?
You know what? We'll only have a minute here. What I've never had Cliff answer is, how good do you think he is? When you look at the quarterbacks in the NFL, we have talked about him ad infinitum on this program, but I've never heard your opinion. Is he an elite quarterback, or is he going to become an elite quarterback in the NFL and deserves to be paid like those guys?
I think he is an elite quarterback. One thing, and Bobby, you know this, you only get so many opportunities at a bite of the apple, meaning a new contract, right? So you have to take advantage of this. He's played his best season last year. The record didn't necessarily show that, but for him in particular, he's growing every year. And that's what you want to see from a young quarterback. You want to see him grow. You want to see the growth in him and become that leader of that football team, and that's what he's become.
And so I don't think he's one of the top 5 guys in the NFL, but if he's from 5 to 10, you can win a Super Bowl. He played like that this year. He's a really tremendous leader, which is why you need him there during the offseason to provide that leadership. And if he's not there during the offseason, I like Dallas as probably one of the 2 or 3 favorites out of the NFC to potentially contend for the Super Bowl. If he doesn't show up until training camp, I would say you have to completely change those odds.
Yeah, that's the end of the season.
We're so glad you're watching ESPN on YouTube.
For more sports, highlights, and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app.
And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus. We'll see you there.